Who would be the audience for my media product? The target audience for our final thriller piece would be for people over the age of 15. We chose this age specifically because, although the trailer isn't disturbing as such, the actual film would include more explicit scenes, possibly including the kidnapping and abuse of a teenage girl. We also thought that anyone under the age of 15 shouldn't be exposed to real-life situations that could inhibit their views on something as simple as walking home alone. To add to this, people over the age of 15 are more likely to purchase and watch the film, as they have money spare and more leisure time, and enjoy socialising at places such as the cinema, where the film would be presented and watched. In terms of an older audience, we thought that our film would appeal to young adults, mid-20s, who aren't offended by any scenes within the film that can cause distress to a younger audience. We intended for our thriller to be enjoyed by a varied age group and not just people who are interested in horror or thrillers, and therefore made the film suitable and not overly scary or inappropriate. By doing this, we hope that the film can be enjoyed by varied groups of people with different film interests.
What kind of media institution might distribute my media product and why? We think that our media film would be best presented at a self-organised evening where we could show the film at a cheap price, or maybe even for free, to ensure that a lot of young people are able to attend and watch it. We thought that this would be a good idea as it would encourage people to watch it, as teenagers often have little money to spend. Our local area gives the opportunity to present our films as well as other art. The Salisbury Arts Centre is a great place for films to be showcased to people of all ages. We have uploaded our film to YouTube and will be sharing the links on social networking sites such as Facebook, MySpace and Twitter, so that our selected audience will have easy access to it, giving them the choice to also share it with friends. If our film is successful, we'd like to present it in the surrounding areas and possibly the Salisbury Arts Festival, where arts are welcomed.
How does my media product represent particular social groups? Our thriller film doesn't necessarily represent any social groups in particular, other than people with a keen interest for thrillers or horror films. However, a social group that are interested in the editing and different types of angles and shots within films may be interested in our film. Our film has some well-cut editing that makes it run smoothly and therefore should be enjoyable to watch, especially for those who are possibly taking media studies themselves and need inspiration in terms of editing, angles and shots. Additionally, groups who enjoy films that include tension and suspense would prefer to watch films that include such high tension scenes. We tried to make our thriller full of tension by using creepy music and a few slow motion shots. Furthermore, we used flashbacks at the start of the film to indicate that someone is dreaming, then added in a twist at the end of the film by making the dream happen in real life. As it ended there, people will wonder whether or not the end of the film was the dream, or if the start was.
What have I learned about technologies from the process of constructing this product? During the process of constructing our thriller, we came across a few minor issues concerning the usage of various technologies. Firstly, as we attempted to transfer our film clips onto the Pinnacle editing software, we found that our videos weren't compatible with the software that we used, as we used our own camera rather than the school's cameras. To overcome this, we decided it would be best to use a different software. As we were both familiar with Windows Movie Maker, we used this as our editing program instead. We know now that for our next production we will need to convert the videos in order for them to be compatible with Pinnacle or other types of software. Secondly, our finished film would not save to the computer. We found that this was because of outdated software. We therefore had to convert every file to a different format and had to transfer all files, including films and sound effects, to an entirely different computer and had to re-edit majority of our film. This was time consuming and put us under a lot more pressure to complete our film before the deadline. Next time we will do a tester video to ensure that the camera and the music are compatible with the computer that we use to edit.
How did I attract my audience? We attracted our audience by making the first few scenes of our film thrilling and a mystery. The opening sequence is a flashback, followed by a few slow motion shots of a teenage girl running. We hoped that these shots would create suspense and make the audience want to continue watching. Moreover, we used music that would appeal to a lot of people. It created suspense when watching the film itself and maintained the tension throughout. We attempted to create a film that had a plot twist and slightly confused the audience. We felt by having a dream or nightmare at the beginning of the film, but not saying it was a dream, the audience would be confused about what was real life in our thriller and what wasn't. We wanted to give our film a psychological feel to it. Additionally, we thought that we would attract an audience by using a typical teenage girl in our film, wearing typical clothing of a normal girl, as well as the setting of a typical area that's urban and housing. The setting and teenager are innocent, which contrasts greatly with the theme of the film. We felt that this would also attract an audience of thriller enthusiasts.
Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learned in the progression from it to the full project? Since our preliminary task, we have learned a great deal about filmmaking and editing, as well as working together in order to produce the best film possible. One of the main issues that we had when filming and editing was the fact that we had little time to complete all tasks due to having other deadlines and commitments. However, we overcame this by mainly working outside of college and doing the theory and planning within the school day. The editing in our preliminary task was average, but it gave us the opportunity to learn about the software that we used to edit, and when editing our film, we saw that we'd improved a vast amount. We also learnt that the appropriate music throughout the film is needed in order to make the film more effective in itself, as the music in our preliminary task was a free track, not copyrighted, from YouTube. We also used more music throughout the thriller film, as well as sound effects, whereas in our preliminary task we didn't have many music tracks or sound effects at all. In general, the thriller film is appealing to a wider audience, whereas the film noir was for a niche audience. This made our film more appealing in itself because it meant that more people would watch it, and this would make it more successful than our preliminary task in the media and in the industry.
In what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? Thriller films use many forms and conventions that make the genre itself recognisable to the audience. Thriller films often use sound effects and sound to make the film recognisable. As well as this, thrillers use mise-en-scène and props as well as characters to produce a creepy or atmosphere within the film. In terms of music, thrillers usually use music that creates tension and gets the audience's hearts racing. Thrillers are mostly characterised by a mood of violence, crime and murder, by showing society in a dark and dangerous way. Our thriller included these aspects in the way that it involved a stalking scene, a crime, and possibly a murder, leaving the audience on a cliffhanger. In most thriller films, the music signifies what is happening or what is about to happen. In ours, the music resembled this also. During the scene when the teenage girl wakes up from the bad dream, the music begins to get louder and faster compared to what it was in the introduction. To make our thriller scene more realistic, we included non-copyright sound effects, such as a heartbeat, that would also be found in a real media production. After researching the forms and conventions of real media products, we found that stalking is one of the most common aspects of the thriller genre. Therefore, we chose this theme in order for our audiences to be able to relate to a real-life situation. Most thrillers take place in ordinary cities. They are most likely to be filmed within large areas such as town centres. To change this and go against the mainstream locations, we chose to film within an area that had typical suburban housing, a realistic environment which makes our thriller more believable.